welcome back to All Things Lord of the Rings with your host Alex, also known as Solinus Dracone. I want to give a sincere thanks to the responses of my viewers who took to heart my plea for encouragement. It is because of your goodwill that I am motivated to continue. Thank you Chris Topher, Donald Ogbemudia, forgive me if I mispronounced it, Dark King 009 again, and Gary Carnero on Reddit, as well as anybody else who I was not able to include in the script at the time of recording. Before we begin, I want to draw attention to a secondary location where I am posting my videos. While this is not an exodus from YouTube by any means, it does not hurt to have more exposure, and as such, I have an account with VidMe. Starting today, the link to my VidMe account page will be included in every video's description and added to my outro. Also, I will be including the link to my PayPal donations page, where those who feel capable of charity may help contribute to my work. Verbal encouragement will remain an acceptable payment method for those whose means restrict them from monetary contribution. Now on with the story. Last episode, Celegorm and Curufin tried to shank our heroes Beren and Luthien, and got bitch-slapped as a reward. Beren took Curufin's horse and rode off with it, trying to leave Luthien behind, but Bay wouldn't have it and turned into a bat. Now, with Beren taking on the form of Sauron's dead pet werewolf Dragluin, and Luthien disguised as the vampire Thuringwethel, our dynamic duo approached the gates of Angband, with faithful best doggo Huan backing them up. Now, Morgoth knew they were coming one way or another. There had been whispers of the doings of elven princes, and while he didn't know specifically what was up, he knew Huan was involved. See, Morgoth knew about Huan's little rule set. He knew that Best Doggo could only speak 3 times in his life, and what's more important is that he knew Huan would not die before meeting the greatest and most terrible wolf who had ever lived. Considering that the previous owner of that title was now dead, Morgoth decided to make a new one. He started off with one of Dragluin's random puppers, and fed him by hand with living flesh. Pupper grew up into a great big hideous monster, and was filled with the fires of hell, metaphorically speaking. This wolf was named Carcharoth, the Red Maw, as well as Anfauglir, the Jaws of Thirst, which is pretty metal as far as dog names go. Anyhow, Carcharoth was proper swole by the time that Beren and them got close, and while their disguises were good enough to fool him from a distance, he wasn't completely convinced on closer inspection, and started to come up on them to have a little sniff. Luthien suddenly dropped her disguise and worked her elven magic on him, knocking him out cold right there on the ground. With that little obstacle out of the way, the two proceeded forth, all the way right down to the dark throne in front of Morgy Doodle himself. This is it, folks, the moment where all of the legends, all of the myths, all of the songs about these two culminate. Morgoth stripped off Luthien's disguise like it was nothing, but Luthien didn't afraid of anything as usual, and stood there looking him right in the eye, offering to sing for him. With Beren chilling out under the throne, and Morgoth looking at Luthien, distracted by thoughts that only the devil himself could think, Luthien went invisible and started to sing. And if we know anything about Luthien, it's that when she fires up her pipes, shit happens. Everyone in the place, even Morgoth himself, passed right the hell out. Luthien backed up her song spell by throwing her magic cloak right in his face, and he dropped like a gigantic sack of shit, his crown with the Silmarils dropping off of his head. Luthien then proceeded to wake up Beren, because he got bamboozled by the song himself, and dropped his disguise. Then, taking Angrist, the knife that he ganked off of Curufin, Beren cut one of the Silmarils off of the crown. Now, if you'll recall, the Silmarils had a blessing of Varda upon them, that they could not be held by either mortal or evil hands, without burning said hands. Somehow, though, Beren was immune to this, and he could actually hold the damn thing without getting an ouchie. Well, as long as he was there, he might as well get the other two, why not? Except as he was trying to cut the second one off, Angrist broke, and a sliver of it went flying into Morgoth's cheek. As the Dark Lord and the rest of his court started to stir, Beendel decided it would be a pretty good idea to fuck off with a quickness. Unfortunately, Carcharoth had already woken back up, and without their disguises, Beren and Luthien were pretty instantly noticed. And Worst Pupper was mad, as you can well imagine. He jumped right up in their faces, all snarls and fangs and murder ready to go. Luthien was spent from using as much magic as it took to drop everyone in Angband, so she was pretty much useless in a fight at this point. Beren, however, had his balls intact, and held the Silmaril in front of the wolf's face, saying, "Fuck off, Insanity Wolf! I've got a shiny that glimmers with the light of the sun and the moon, and it'll burn your ass, and I'll fuck my hand! What the hell's wrong with you, fuck?" Because Karkaroth had bitten his fucking hand off. You know, even the works of Tolkien can have some ironic humor in them. Anyway, the hand that went down Karkaroth's throat still held the Silmaril in it, and that, as you can well imagine, was the spiciest meatball ever. To call it a heartburn would be like saying a bullet in the brain would cause a slight headache. Karkaroth lost his mind and started rampaging across the whole northern lands of Beleriand, tearing apart anything in his path blindly, the Silmaril simultaneously burning his insides and giving him energy. Nothing could stand up to him. Now, Beren, as you might expect, had a bit of a negative reaction to having his hand bit off. I mean, obviously that sucked, but Karkaroth's teeth were also poisonous, because of course they were, because Morgoth. He dropped to the ground, and Luthien tried to suck the poison out of his arm while using whatever magic she had left to try and heal the prone body. Unfortunately, Morgoth was wide awake and pretty pissed, and things would have gone straight to pot had not Thorondor and his Wonderburbs decided to make the scene. Beren's reputation was pretty good amongst the animals, and Huan had put in a good word for him at some point too, so the eagle swooped in, picked them up, and while Beren was passed out on Birdback, Luthien saw them pass over Gondolin, and they were deposited at the borders of Doriath safely. Beren got better and gained an additional name, Erchamion, and that's where we'll pause for now. I'm going to be trying my best to put out episodes every week if I possibly can, though writing up a script, editing it, recording it, and chopping visuals onto it can be a tiresome process. Thanks to your encouragement, however, I do feel motivated to actually continue doing it. I will be taking a week off for Thanksgiving to go hang out with my family in Florida, and then after that, I should be back at it in some capacity. Your kind words help, and if you can find it in your heart to share me with some friends, it'll help me even better to see my viewer base swelling. I really want to make this thing work, folks. So, thank you all for watching. Once again, I am Alex, also known as Solanus Dracone, and this has been All Things Lord of the Rings. Goodbye.